Hello everyone, this is Phoenix, and I decided I was going to do a video to show some of the features of this new add-on I've written called the Elder Scrolls Online Master Recipe List. Just because it's got quite a few options at this point, and I want to make sure there's no confusion, because some of them, there's a lot you can do with it. So I just want to make sure everybody kind of knows what does what. This is the main window here. Before I get too far started, I wanted to show that you can go into the controls and bind a key to open that main menu, which I recommend you do. You can also use slash commands, slash MRL or slash recipes. Both will work, but it's just real easy to just bind a key and just be able to pop it up when you need it. So on this main screen here, this is what comes up when you first start off. Obviously there's a few things you can close it. This is a new feature. You can actually show it by default. It shows. You can hide or show them, but for every recipe, which this is basically is every recipe in the game, whether you know it or not, organized by food, by drink, by the quality level. It also shows you what stats they buff. So if you're like a stamina character and you want a health stamina, you can actually go into this list and see all the ones in the game. And for whichever list you're on, it will show you the pop-up for it. Now I've added also, if you look at the right hand side, it says makes level 1 or makes veteran 1 food on this one. That line that says the level of the food that it makes is not there by default. This is something I added because I felt that it was kind of needed to know what the level of the thing you're actually going to consume is going to be, so you know to make the maximum level 1 for your character. And then below that, where it shows who knows the recipe, I added that as well. Now I did some cool stuff with that, where I actually created an array and counted the number of characters in each name and added names to each line until it was up to a certain point, which is the width plus the little margin that I thought looked good. I didn't want it to be wider than that horizontal divider above where it says known by. And if it exceeds that, it bumps it down to the next line. I did that because otherwise any text string that goes past the width of what's available inside that little tooltip will actually auto left justify, so everything will be scrunched over to the left. I wanted everything nice and centered like the rest of the tooltip, so I did it that way. When I get into the options, there is actually an option to turn the known by section off completely, so that little horizontal divider and everything below it where it says known by, you can turn that off just in case you had another add-on or something that did that and they didn't have the option to turn it off. I personally like mine just because they're sexy and they're centered, but you can turn that off globally. Anyway, so all the recipes in the game. There's also the legend here if you hover over the checkbox. So it shows you what the different symbols mean. Yellow stars, yellow unfilled stars are recipes you know. White unfilled are unknown recipes. Orange unfilled are ones that are if you're currently on a writ. As you can see, I am. If you look over on the right hand side, will actually automatically detect which recipes create the food that you need for the writ that you're currently on and highlight those recipes in orange. And then there's also the option to track anything, any of those, which I'll get into in a second, but as far as what tracking does. So that's the legend. Also, you can see any item in any of the lists in the add-on. You can now shift click and it will create the link for you in chat. So if you wanted to sell something or ask to buy something, you just find the item that you're looking for, and you can actually shift click on it and it'll put the link in chat, and then you can actually, well, I've got my saves hidden in the main chat window because I didn't want spam in the video, but as you can see, it puts it into whatever chat you're currently in. It could be zone, it could be guild, whatever, just like any other link basically, and it does retain all the tooltip information, so that's cool. Oh, and if you're on a writ, there is a button, this little checkbox down here, find current writ requirements, which if you click on that and you're on a writ, it will automatically show you the recipes that are needed for it. And as you can see, if it's needed for a current writ, it puts that little extra line down at the bottom. So that's really cool as well. There's also a text search. So if you're looking for something specific, you can just type it in there. It auto completes as you're typing it, which is kind of neat. And then you know, you can find things based on that. So that's really neat as well. So let me cover tracking things real quick. Anything in this list can be set to tracked. So for example, if I click on fishy sticks, it adds that extra line on recipe tracking list. Now that does a couple things. If there's recipes that you definitely want to keep, you can go through here and check them. So when you're in your inventory junking stuff, you can see that tooltip line and know not to throw it away. So that's one thing. It also comes into play when you go into the ingredients tab. So I'm going to show you that next. As you can see, as you're clicking things that you're tracking, it updates the number of recipes you're tracking. You can actually click this to clear them all and reset it. So let's just click a few of these. Let's see, fishy sticks. If you look over in the tooltip, you see ingredients fish, so that's one ingredient. And then roast pig, ingredients white meat, so that's 2 total ingredients. For all the ones that I have checked. Red meat, that's a new one. So far I have 3 recipes checked with a total of 3 different ingredients required to make everything that I currently have checked. The reason that's important is because you can switch, if you click on this little icon here, you can switch to ingredients view. I'm tracking already, so I'm going to clear this. Any of these ingredients, same thing, you can click on them to track them, and it'll add that tooltip line. So you can know what ingredients to throw away. But there's also a couple extra features. You can select them all at once, which is important when you get into the next feature. But for right now, the one I wanted to show you is mark all tracked recipe ingredients. What this will do is it will mark all of the ingredients that are needed for all of the recipes that you currently have tracked combined automatically. So there were 3. And it's got those 3 tracked, so that's really cool. The reason why the select all is important is because this next little button here on the ingredients list is to there's an option to click. If you click this, it's going to highlight it so it's pinned, and what that does is, you can see in the tooltip, it sets all unmarked ingredients that you loot from here on out as junk automatically. So that when you go to a vendor, you can just hit sell all junk and it'll sell all the things you don't want. Now, I wanted to be clear, the reason I have the select all, the ones that are going to be marked as junk are the ones that are not marked, which means the ones that are not yellow. So say that you wanted to keep every ingredient that you loot. Well, if you wanted to keep every ingredient that you loot, you just wouldn't check this button. So it wouldn't set anything to junk. But if you have this button checked, if you mark all ingredients, even though it's checked to auto mark them as junk, it's not going to, because right now all of them are checked. But if I uncheck a few of these, any of these ones that are not checked that I loot, it's going to automatically mark them as junk. And then, as far as, I don't know if you ever use junk, but you can unjunk things. Basically all junk is it's a tab in your inventory that you can, when you go to a vendor, you can hit auto sell junk and it will just automatically sell it all. But you can actually set things by right clicking them and set them as junk, and it'll move them over to the junk tab. And you can actually, anything that is already junked, you can right click on it and unmark it as junk, and then it won't automatically sell it. So it's not a permanent thing, so it's not too big of a worry, but just so you know, it's only the things that are not checked that will be automatically set, and only if you have this little pin on. So that's kind of a cool feature that was requested. And then the other thing that was requested that I've done is when I go into the options here, there's a couple things I wanted to cover. So you can go into add-on settings, ESO, master recipe list. Here's all the options. As I said before, that known by section at the bottom of the tooltips, that's a global setting. You can actually turn that off here, and that will remove that section from everybody, from all your characters. It's a global option. And then there's character specific options that only apply to the character you're currently logged in as when you set it. Icon style, it just there was an old version of this that I made that instead of the stars, it actually used brackets with an asterisk in it if they were tracked or not. That's the text style. It defaults to icon style, obviously, because it's better, but if you wanted to use the old style, you can. That's not so important. Enable tracking. That is a per character thing where it's on by default. And so this is what allows a character that knows a recipe to show up in the known section. So if you didn't want to know whether or not a particular character, you know, a bank alt or something, if you didn't want them showing up in the list of who knows a recipe, you can actually just turn this off when you're logged into that character, and even if they know a recipe, their name won't show in the list of characters that know it on the global known by list. So you can turn that off per character. Now the next couple ingredients I've made, or the next couple options I've color bolded because they're kind of important. That little pin that I was talking about before that will auto junk ingredients you don't have checked, you can actually change what that does if you want. You can actually turn this on. It's off by default, and if you turn this on, that little pin, instead of automatically setting items that are not checked to junk, it will automatically set any ingredients that you loot that are not currently checked in that list with, you know, clicked and the text gold. It will automatically permanently delete them instead. And that's like if you're going through, I guess, the people that requested this were going through dungeons and stuff and looting everything, but they didn't want to keep going through their inventory and manually throwing ingredients away. There are other add-ons that do this, like Dustman by Garkin is a really cool one, but they don't give you the option to specifically select which ingredients you want to keep and which ones you want to junk. So if you're going on a provisioning run and picking up a bunch of stuff and you only want to keep certain ingredients but you don't want to micromanage your inventory, you can actually use this to automatically delete anything that isn't marked. Obviously use it with caution because it's permanent. So if you turn this on, just be aware that if you set that little pin, if you turn this, if you turn delete on and you come in here and you check that so that's highlighted, the little pin, and you don't have any of these yellow, then any new ingredients that you loot are going to be deleted. I mean, so just know what you're doing if you go in here and enable this. And I made it really, you know, options will, are obvious with a warning and everything. So there's that. There is the option to automatically delete any ingredients that you don't have checked. And then debug mode is on by default. It will basically tell you in chat, regardless of what the current function of this is, if it's automatically setting them to junk or if you turn on automatically destroy, it will basically tell you in chat every time you loot an ingredient that isn't marked, deleted this many of this or set this many of this to junk. So that's what debug mode is, just so you know that it was doing it. So you can't accidentally turn this on to junk things or turn this on to delete things and have it be sitting there deleting stuff without you knowing it. You'll actually see it in chat. That's on by default. You have to go and turn that off, and that's just as a protection. And then this is kind of cool. This is the and the main reason for this is because when you loot, say you had like a stack in your inventory of 8 carrots, right? And then you go and you loot a carrot and you don't have it checked here, so it's not gold, you don't have it checked, and you have this option on to either automatically set things that aren't checked to junk or automatically delete them. If you didn't have carrots checked and you loot a carrot, the game, when it fires the event, it counts the whole stack. It adds the new thing you looted to the current stack that you have. So if you had 8 carrots and you looted a carrot, the stack total that the event registers is 9. So it doesn't know the difference between whether you had 8 already and you looted 1 or you had a total of 9. It just knows that now you have a total of 9. The rest of the functions to get how many specifically were added and how many specifically already had is private. You can't access it through the API, unfortunately, yet. So you have to work with what you have. Basically what that means is if you have ingredients in your inventory already and then you set newly acquired ones to either junk or delete and you don't have them checked, it will actually junk or delete the entire stack of that ingredient that you don't have marked, which is where this option comes in. This is a protection option for the destroy feature. It will still junk the whole stack because that's not permanent. You can go back and look through your junk and set them to be not junk, so it's not permanent. But this number here is the maximum stack size that this add-on will actually delete. So if you had 20 carrots in your inventory and then you turned on automatically delete things I don't mark and set it on, and you didn't have carrots marked, and you looted a new carrot, you would now have 21 carrots in a stack that you, since you didn't have it marked, would be automatically deleted. But it will not delete that stack because of this option. It will not delete any stacks regardless of your settings here, or if you have the option turned on, it won't delete any stacks bigger than what you set here. And by default it's 10, so you can't have more than 10 things in your inventory, ingredients in your inventory, and accidentally turn this on somehow, and accidentally set this option on somehow, and have it delete more than 10 by default. And again, it's going to tell you in chat if it deletes anything. So it's another protection feature. You can actually set it up to 100. I know ingredients stack to 200, but 100 I felt like was a fine, safe limit. Otherwise, you can manage stacks bigger than 100 yourself. I don't think that anything should be automatically deleting stacks bigger than 100. So that's that. That's currently the options that are available. So let's see. What else have I not covered? That's pretty much it for this release. It'll keep track of how many ingredients you're currently tracking here as well. You can switch back and forth. Ingredients you can link in chat by shift clicking, just the same as basically anything in here you can link in chat by shift clicking. So that's kind of cool. And so yeah, that's pretty much it. I can't really think of anything else right now. I keep adding new features, so if I think of anything else, I'll make an addendum to the video. So this is going to be available. I'm going to go ahead and upload the final version of this onto ESOUI.com later today. So there's a person who actually I wanted to say thanks to. Its handle is @SneakThief. Let's see. I think I've actually got his name in an email here. Yeah, @Sneak-Thief. Made a really cool spreadsheet that basically had the all of the 1.6 ingredients and recipes in the game, and all of the ingredients post 1.6 after everything with provisioning changed, and all their item IDs and all of the recipe item IDs. It made things so much easier making the add-on, because instead of having to create a little, and I was doing this and it was a real pain because I had to go through all of these guild stores to find all of these ingredients, and I made a little thing that would output to text the item ID as I moused over things, and just sat there collecting those, and it was taking forever. And I found this spreadsheet, somebody who had probably had some kind of a batch script that dumped all those at once, or actually sat there and collected them all, which was taking me forever. Made things way easier. I didn't have to sit there and arduously go through guild store after guild store finding every recipe in the game. So that was really cool. I wanted to thank Sneak Thief for that. I've got his spreadsheet linked on the add-on page, so if you want to check that out, then you're free to do so. And if you wanted to send me anything in-game, my handle is @AlienDiplomat112. I've actually got that on the add-on page as well. So gold or anything or questions, that'd be cool. And if you did feel like donating, that'd be really awesome. I currently am kind of going through a health situation where I can't it's difficult to describe. Basically, I had an injury when I was in Little League, and I got hit really hard with a baseball. And at the time, I went to the hospital. I was okay, but for a week afterward, I was kind of slurring my speech. Well, it turns out that there was actually a bleed that had happened inside my brain at that time, and it never healed correctly. So what I've got now is basically symptoms of what's called a brain cavernoma, which is it's like a structure of small blood supplying vein capillaries and veins that are malformed, and this is because that injury just never fully healed, and they end up in this kind of knot of leaky veins, for lack of a better word, that kind of just randomly and constantly leak blood, and that causes symptoms of all kinds of stuff, which is no fun. It's basically like having little mini strokes. Like if there was an article about Julius Caesar actually recently, that he had basically later in his career he had lots of little mini strokes, and he would actually have problems with passing out and slurring his speech and having little mini seizures and falling down and all that fun stuff. So I've kind of been going through a lot of lifestyle change because of that. I can't right now, until I get on medications that get that under control. I can't drive. They've taken my license away, which obviously is affecting a lot. And just my personal kind of headspace has been a little, you can imagine, I mean, being in your 30s and having something like this, all the things that you can't do anymore. It's like I can't go, swimming by myself anymore because I could drown. I can't go off on long hikes like I used to enjoy because, it's just like lots of stuff that's different. So, I mean, my whole career and lifestyle is kind of on hold, and that's affecting my financial situation. If you did feel like helping out, I mean, I'm not going to really hammer this too bad, but that's why I put the donation link on the page, just because it would be cool. And if you felt like helping out, I would definitely appreciate it. So I just wanted to kind of mention that, because sometimes people hassle people for putting donation links on their page, and that's their reason. Anyway, I've also got links to my other mods and add-ons and stuff that I've done a lot for Skyrim, and I kind of been doing this for a while just because it's a hobby. It's something I enjoy doing. So you can check those out as well. And if you like the add-ons, or if you like anything, or if you had any comments, just go ahead and leave them, and I will take into consideration any feedback that you have. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy the add-on.